Hey, we're all back from E3, and we're going to talk about
so tired.
it here on the FAQ cast. We're not calling it that. Not cast. We're just saying
Fat cast.
I don't know what we're calling the show. We're going to answer your
We're
question.
a couple of fat casters.
And I'm in charge of the gaming now.
Good job, Joel.
Joel walked up and his eyes lit up and he said, "Ooh, Lego! I can play Lego."
Yeah.
You want to talk about what we're doing here?
Yeah. So it seems like this E3, people were happy with all the normal games, but they really want the old ones all over again.
Seems like it.
And we were a little downery on that. We didn't quite celebrate them with the universal joy that a lot of people on the internet did.
We think it was still a good E3 though.
Yeah.
Still really
I guess let me preface this whole thing with I would hope
Virgil.
that we collectively get excited about games more than most of the games industry. Games excite us. We like to play stuff. We don't like to set our expectations too high so that we are not ultimately disappointed. I think that's a big problem is in this world right now is hype.
Okay.
And a lot of people hype themselves up. We look at everything and go, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We'll reserve judgment.
Call me when I can plug a controller into it.
I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to say it's good or bad now until I have my hands on it. Then I will form an opinion then.
I'm going to judge it now.
Okay, there we are.
So in that spirit, we had not many, but a few people kind of be mad at us for not being happier, which is a weird thing to say, but it's 2015, so there you go.
Also, we've been to a lot of E3s. We're bitter old men at this point.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge that. You don't have to like it.
I was
We
gonna
should
say-
get to the question.
Anyway, yeah, we can talk about this
throw
all
it
day.
out there. You guys
All right.
ask us.
Okay.
We get mad.
Kovic's Fist, first question. Do you think remakes come around because popular demand or from pressure to put out a game? If a game company is pressing a game remake, the easy option would be a remake rather than a new IP. Okay.
What?
So I think he's
phrasing of the
asking,
question is a little
like,
confusing.
okay, so to paraphrase, this is how I understand the question. What's the motivation for a new game?
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be under the impression that publishers say, developer, you need to give us a game in 2015 or we'll be mad at you. And the developer's like, well, we could spend all this time looking at a dry erase board and coming up with new ideas or just remaster one of our old ones. I'm not sure the flow kind of exactly works like that. Typically, this is my understanding, I'm not a developer, but I've talked to a few of them. And the vibe I get and the narrative I keep hearing is developers want to make what they want to make, but if they can't get that approved, they'll make whatever they can get paid to make. So if they're pitching an idea and no one's picking it up, sometimes to keep the lights on, you have to pitch the idea that will get picked up, and sometimes that's a remake because of market factors that prove it will be profitable.
The only thing I can think of, like you said, no one in this room is a game developer. The only way I can think of...
Speak for yourself.
Oh, you game developer, Joel?
Yep.
No, he just doesn't want to speak for everyone else in the room.
I'm saying if I was put into that position, and say Halo 2 is like a good example. They're like, remake this game. I'd go, well, okay, it's already done. There's a template laid before me, and I can go online and read what people like about this thing. Okay, it's not cheating, but it's giving you a head start. So it's like, okay, I think that's an easy form of it. So if given the option of that, or make an all-new IP where you're a woman in a post-apocalyptic world with robot dinosaurs, I go, I think I'm going to try the one where I already know what's going on.
Well, I mean, also you have to consider these are video games. So, like, things like assets that are pre-existing assets, it's always easier to go back and, like, up-res pre-existing assets than it is to create a whole new thing, new concept art for a game. It's just simpler, right? Am I crazy?
I don't know.
I think it's
I don't know
a
how
different.
hard concept art is.
I think it's a different kind of work. It's difficult to go into somebody else's work and revamp it and make it better when you weren't the one who made it. And a lot of these remasters get put on different companies than made the original game. So it is challenging to dig into like a code base, and there are certain assumptions that were made at the time that you have to completely redo in order to make them run at certain frame rates or on certain engines or certain platforms. So it's not as trivial as just like turning it, like dragging up the sharpness slider in Photoshop. I think there is a large amount of work that goes into those remasters that people don't quite appreciate, nor do they really need to. But I do think it's hard work. It's just a different kind.
Interesting. All right, next question from the King Eddie. How long before game remakes become old and outdated and warrant another remake?
Remake.
Yeah, haven't they remade Final Fantasy, like different versions of Final Fantasy VII, a bunch of different
Seven
times?
has never
That was
really
the
been remade.
that was
It
the
was on
most
PC.
requested, but also
That is- that
there's no
was on
there's no
PC.
real way of measuring the request number.
4, 5, and 6 have been up-resed a few times. I don't think it's ever gotten to the. I don't think it's ever gotten so cyclical that a remake has been remade specifically. More that a game has been re-released a couple of times on a few different platforms, and those versions are all different.
I think
Yeah.
things like services like PlayStation Now are trying to future-proof themselves for those things, where they can just say, "We'll just throw it on a server and you just stream it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you have that hardware sitting on a rack somewhere, sure,
Yeah.
that works.
And then even Bethesda with mods coming to consoles, those sorts of things. I don't think anyone's going to get to the point where they're going to do a re-release.
Well, like Tetris has been re-released on everything since it came out. Do those count as re-releases? It gets a little murky. I think remake doesn't change the core of a game. All it does is kind of brush off the dirt and make it more appealing to audiences that have certain expectations given market trends. I think a good game is always a good game. Actually, there's a qualification to that, but we'll get to that later. It's a different question.
This is an interesting question. That guy Jim, what are your thoughts on Sony running Shenmue 3 through crowdfunding rather than funding it themselves? Surely a big-time player such as Sony wouldn't need to use a service such as Kickstarter for a game.
You would think so.
So
Lots
here's the
of
thing.
theories on this
Here's
one.
the thing. I don't think that they need to. Shenmue is a game that's going to cost a lot more than $2 million.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Even if they're just making a shoddy little, like something that's basically a downloadable game, it's still going to cost a lot more than $2 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
why
Kickstarter?
Kickstarter?
Why Kickstarter? I'm not sure. I mean,
Well, I've got a theory.
it's basically like, all right, well, we can already tick off $2 million from the profitability of this game or whatever it goes to. Like, we can already put it there. So
I think it's kind of like I was saying before. The way traditional game development works is you have to cut a developer a very big check and hope that you make that money back 2.5 years later. And what the fuck are you guys doing?
just like in the movie.
So it's publishers specifically only want to fund things that will make their money back. It's like the movie industry. And this is where you get the problem of like homogenization. People see a game work when it's got a dude with a gun on the cover. And so you come to them with your design that doesn't have a dude with a gun on the cover, and they're like, okay, well, we'll fund this, but put a gun with a dude on the cover. So you make certain concessions. So part of your game is there, and part of it has compromised to get it done. I think this is, Sony said, we're interested in this. We understand there is a part of the internet that wants this a lot, but we don't know how big that is, and we can't tell if this is just a vocal minority. So if you get them to demonstrate intent to us in a very public way, then we'll be willing to fund it on maybe a sliding scale based on how much you can raise directly from your audience.
There's a similar story that actually works parallel to the gaming industry that works in Hollywood. I used to work in casting a long time ago, and
Here we go.
No,
the casting story
When
again.
the bits are jiggling, you can build them.
So
I'm
one
trying
of
to
the actresses who came in was the girl who played Maybe from Arrested Development. She was not right for the role at all. It was like a horror film, but she came in, did okay read, wasn't anything crazy. The only reason she came in was she was on Arrested Development, and the person who was doing the casting was like, I'm a huge fan of Arrested Development.
Wow.
I want you to come in. Arrested Development got canceled, wasn't getting enough viewership, all that stuff, but it was loved by people within the industry. So I can see a version of this where Shuhei Yoshida is like, I'm a big fan of Shenmue. Unfortunately, my bosses look at numbers and spreadsheets all day, and they go, Shenmue equals no money, equals failure, death of Sega. And he goes, but if we can, like exactly what you're saying, we'll bring you on stage, we'll give you the most eyeballs, we'll give you every possibility, and we'll set a reasonable number, $2.5, $3 million. That's enough just to get a prototype going. We'll go from there. And so, and like, in that case, I'm kind of interested in
I
it.
would
Like,
theorize
okay.
they probably already have a prototype. I would say Yu Suzuki has a prototype. He showed it to Sony, and he was like, look, I can still do this. I can still direct big projects. And he has this playable prototype, and he's like, I need $20 million and 2.5 years to finish this.
Oh my God, PT is Shenmue 3.
Yeah.
You guys,
We did it.
we did it.
We did it.
PT coming to Wii U.
So if anything, I look at Kickstarter as not so much like people love black and white. They love to just see the simplicity of it all of like money equals game. I did thing, it happened. It's like, no, there's so many different conversations happening, so many different struggles, so many different hurdles that are happening that you will not see. But if Sony can paint this pretty picture in a very simple, keep your crayon within the lines and you'll understand this, then it looks good from a PR move. And it's just sort of like, look what we did for you, when in reality, there's a much bigger deal being cut.
And sometimes for us, working creatively, I feel like we can empathize with this at least. A lot of the times you'll want to do something and you'll know it'll work and you have the data to say that it will work and you present that to the person who could say yes or no, and for whatever reason they just go, nah, no thanks. So then you have to be like, what do you want to see? What will make you say yes? And then you go out and make that happen so you can do what you want to do.
Perfect examples at the last job when we started selling T-shirts and we just said, screw it, we'll just put it up on Society 6 on. Hold on a minute, there's money here.
Wait, shirts? We never thought of that. Thank God I thought of it.
Next question from ZZ Man. Are you guys excited for The Last Guardian, or do you think Team Ico missed the hype train by continually pushing the release date back? Well, they never pushed the release date back.
They never had a release date.
There never was one.
Yeah.
There still isn't one. Wait, is there? Did they say 2016?
I think it
It
did
did say
I think it's
2016.
2016.
Yeah, they never actually.
Okay.
But yeah, they weren't. It wasn't like every year like it's coming. If anything, it was sort of like, is this thing even happening?
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
I'm excited for Last Guardian. I'm
I'll
still
s-
very excited for Last Guardian.
I never played The Last Guardian. I know very little about it.
No one has.
You mean like the other two
Well,
Ico
I
games?
mean, yeah.
Shadow of the Colossus, Ico,
But
Ine.
I will say,
Hey, now, hey,
there's
now.
stuff over here.
Gotta punch that dinosaur off the wall.
Wait, punch the dinosaur.
We're playing Lego Jurassic Park.
We're trying something where we
Park
play games together while
Yeah.
we do it. It's
So Joel,
amazing.
do you
Who
want
would've
The
thought
Last
of it?
Guardian?
Yeah, like I
think
thought
it's
it was pretty cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You don't own a PS4.
No, but there
Your
were
Last Guardian
there
machine?
were a few things that I thought were interesting enough in the show to say like, oh, maybe I will buy a console for some of this stuff.
It looks like a really nice blend of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. Like they're
Yeah.
using different mechanics from both, and
Yeah.
if it's anything like the last two games, they're all kind of within the same universe, which is always kind of interesting. Not that the story's
Yeah.
that important, but it looked like it actually, for what it was, it looked like a pretty simple game,
Yeah.
which I liked.
Well, I mean, this kind of we've discussed story and our complicated relationship with story and games several times in various podcasts. But I'm excited for this because I feel like that if it's anything like their other games, there's not going to be any dialogue. It's not going to be sitting through a sequence where someone says like, "This is your relationship with this animal. You love it because it saved you from a fire when you were 12 or whatever." Like, it's not going to tell you these things, but I feel like you're going to establish the relationship as you play through the game, right?
Totally,
Like,
yeah,
I think
their
it's
style.
to be really
Yeah.
subtle and really cool.
I thought, like I said, like Ico's, the escort mission aspect of it added some. There were some interesting parts to it. Shadow of the Colossus did away with that. It was more of like really interesting boss mechanics, and now there is. I think they found the perfect blend because the sort of idea of like the they have a name for the creature. What it's called?
He's
I guess
the Guardian.
he is the last guardian. So the
Yes.
guardian like needs you, and you need the guardian. Like I like this
Yeah.
relationship that they've built. Like it looks. I don't know. Like I'm into it. It
I
looks really
wonder.
cool.
I do wonder, throughout the course of the game, how many of these intense situations are going to boil down to a block pushing puzzle, and then some kind of increasingly contrived reason for to scale 6-inch human being to help this giant monster.
But it's so pretty.
If it's a- but
It's sort of like the Portal conundrum.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, if at its base level it's a puzzle game, I'm
mean,
kind of okay with
I'm
that.
cool
You
with
know?
that too. I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
It's just people are expecting the Citizen Kane of gaming, and I'm not saying it's not going to be that because Team Ico has tugged at heartstrings in the past. I just wonder if people are expecting the next level, and I think it'll just be the next game.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh well.
Okay. Next question from Aroused Dentist. Do any of you actually care for a remake? Do you see yourself going back and playing the game on a new console PC just because it's been remade, or is it just not something that you find fun? That you find fun.
I find remakes they're just an excuse to play a game you liked again. And if you don't feel that tug to go back and play it again, you don't need to.
As far as remakes go, I think that I almost prefer always having a situation where you didn't need the remake in the first place. So you have the game on Steam,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And you
then
have
it
it
scales with
forever.
PC tech.
You have it forever, and it's always there. And we've gotten into situations where we've gotten games on Steam that don't play in the right resolutions for us to record, but you can still play the game. And I would always prefer a situation where you don't have to worry about a remake coming out because whatever platform you owned it on is just allowing you to have it basically in perpetuity. That's what I want.
Well, those platforms still work. My Super Nintendo still works.
Yeah, but you have to get out a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, you gotta bust out the hardware. But I think that's also, like Adam was saying with PlayStation Now, I think that's sort of a relic of the times. Being hardware dependent, Will. What the hell? All right, you're archaeologists.
It's that thing that shoots
the lead slugs.
I rarely go back and play old games. I can't even think of the last time I did it. It's normally because, and this goes back to me being excited about the games industry, there's too much good stuff coming out.
There really is.
Batman's next week, and I'm hearing good stuff about that.
I have a week to finish Origins.
Yeah, hurry up.
I'm not gonna-
Actually, I don't think you have to
Origins
finish
is
the
before.
I like Origins though. I want to finish
But
it.
it's before though, so
it's
you
really good.
can come back to it. I'm just
That's
saying
true.
you can narratively come back to it if you
It doesn't
want to.
even feel like the same narrative. We're getting sidetracked. I don't know.
Either-
I feel like it's.
Either way, I'm just saying I've got a handful of games to the left that I'm like, I should probably play the newer stuff so I can say a bit more,
Yeah.
keep up and play relevant. I always kind of cringe when I see those guys on Reddit or like on our gaming and be like, look at this Super Nintendo I found in a trash heap. It's like, good for you,
Yeah.
I guess. Like,
Remember those games?
yeah, he's like Saturday Night Defined, and it's like, ugh, like, okay, I guess.
Well, I mean, sometimes I'll have a drink or two, and I'll be like, I want to play DJ Hero right now. And that's when I bust out my controller and the disc and set it all up, and it takes like 20 minutes. And I think that level of investment for just satiating nostalgia is pretty fine. It's okay. Just keep it in the closet. Bring it out when you want.
Just also
Jerk
don't
yourself
forget
off
that there's
some
this
more
awesome shit coming out right now.
Yeah. There's too many good games now.
Yeah.
Like Lego Jurassic Park.
Like Lego Judge Dredd.
This is Rob Moden. Rob Moden. Why do you think game remakes and remasters are given a certain pass compared to the vitriol that can greet remakes in other media?
I think it's because it's almost always the same thing exactly again.
Yeah.
Like they don't touch it. If a movie remake involves recasting, finding a new writer, shooting it with a new director. Like I can't think of many. Is there a situation where an artist, like a director, has remade his own film? The dude.
Star Wars.
I mean, the best examples
Yeah,
I can
you're
think
right.
of are El Mariachi to Desperado
Yeah.
and Evil Dead 1 and 2.
There's the guy who. What's that movie with Michael Pitt, where he like basically harasses a family? Funny Games. Funny Games
Never saw it.
is a really weird movie, but the director remade it like as an American film. But it's basically no one had a problem with it because it was basically the exact same thing, but now with English language.
Wasn't there like a
true.
Korean
Well, there was like the host was never Old Boy.
Old Boy the same
Well,
director?
But everyone hated
No.
it
Yeah.
because it was
It was
they.
a- it
No,
was
it
like
wasn't.
obligatory,
It
basically.
wasn't the same
Or-
director. It was Spike Lee did the
Was-
remake, and
was
everyone hated
The
it.
Ring directed by the same
I'm trying to think of a
guy?
video
No.
game where a game was made.
Well, a lot of game remakes aren't directed by the same studio either.
No, but they're the same. They're the same thing. Like
you're right. The
people,
mechanics are
but
the same.
the different. I think a more comparable situation is when they're like, "We're making Devil May Cry, starting it over as DMC."
Right.
You know,
Okay.
and they've changed the design and they changed thing, but it's like still clearly the same idea and the same concept, but it's different now, and people react venomously to it just naturally. I think that's across mediums.
Interesting. Okay. This is from Gerardo Blackmo. Oh boy, there's a wall of text.
You don't need to do the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll read it. Could you give your best description of what Shenmue is all about? I would mention that I never played Final Fantasy VII or that I'm not properly versed in rare content, but I never once heard of this game before the conference, and seeing people's reactions to it and watching the E3 scenes that only make it look like a dating sim, again, because I have no idea what it is and only just heard of it. Leave me so in the dark. Oh, so yeah, it's a very long sentence.
So he doesn't know what
Wrong.
Shenmue is.
Leave me so to continue in the dark. I feel like looking at myself wouldn't do it justice to what these apparent professional hype fanatics could give me.
love
First of all, you're
Okay.
a dirty casual, and you shouldn't be considered a gamer for not knowing what Shenmue is.
How dare you even comment on
How
the channel?
dare you, sir?
Go back to Candy Crush. You guys see that Fallout Shelter game? So good.
Yeah.
It beat Candy Crush.
Thank you for saying
It's a
that.
mobile game.
I
Chill
just
out.
thing.
Personal rant. I know someone very close to me who has been attacked
Thank you, James.
because of her lack of
Oh.
enthusiasm. Her lack of enthusiasm over Shenmue. Not that she isn't excited.
That's
She's just
absurd.
like she didn't freak out.
That's outright absurd.
How
And
dare
has
she
been
be
considered not
professional.
an actual gamer. So this person must be. Have you ever even played a game before in your life? No, Shenmue doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't matter.
Look, I'm okay for people to get excited about things.
Yeah.
When you are, whatever you do in your private life, I do not care. You and your friends want to jerk each other off because something's kind of cool. If you're in a professional atmosphere, whether it's I don't care if you work at a McDonald's. I don't care if you're a babysitter. Like, if you have a job,
They're breaking your chicken nuggets!
have
Oh, they're breaking my 80s chicken nugget!
have some decorum
No.
because people will look at you.
If they announced Psychonauts 2, I would be thrilled.
Right, but-
I would be thrilled, but if Joel wasn't crying at that announcement, I wouldn't be like, "What's your problem, Joel?"
Because Psychonauts is not the same level as Shenmue.
Yeah, it's above it.
I remember, I mean, there's video footage of it, but last year, the most excited I think I got was when they announced the PS4 remake for GTA, or the Upres, whatever, port for GTA 5. And I grabbed Bruce's
That was
leg,
really fun.
and it was more of like, we can finally, like, it's finally good, like, it's not going to look like shit, because we're playing GTA every day.
Yeah.
And I was sort of just like, yeah, like, cool, but I didn't, like, rub my dick in his face. Like, it was weird.
cry.
Maybe you should.
Either way. So explain why anyone should give a shit about Shenmue.
So to your question, Shenmue was pretty groundbreaking for its time in certain ways. The goal of Shenmue was to create a living world that you walked around in to solve like a murder mystery, basically. Some dude rolls in, punches your father to death.
Mondi, no!
And he just pieces out with a dragon mirror. You don't know what it is. So you take it upon yourself to try to figure out what Landi's all about. And you do this just by kind of walking around this somewhat authentic mid-'80s Japanese town.
And this is a game that came out in 1999.
99.
Okay.
99, 2000.
Well,
it pioneered a lot of things. Like, it pioneered, like you said, it recreated basically an entire Japanese town from a very specific time period.
Just like a bunch of really low-key, quirky elements. Like, dudes would just kind of hang out on the street and talk to you. You could, like, go into gas stations and, like, use quarter vending machines and get all these, like, stupid capsules.
There was a clock. Time would pass, and there would be weather and different things like that. All really pretty...
And this is why people are excited about the game being remade, is because the stuff that they introduce is in every other game now.
That's my confusion. It's like, these things exist. Like, GTA 5 for me is, like, the perfect game that does that. Where it's like, there's a moving clock, but it doesn't move in real time. And if I want to make money, I can knock over a bank. I'd rather do that than go work down at the docks for a week, so I can get on a boat to find out who's
you have a job in that game.
Were we supposed to put everybody else in the cars and get them to come here?
I understand the enthusiasm. I have no idea.
Stupid game.
I understand the enthusiasm for wanting to finish the story because, I mean, even when it came out, it was basically pitched as, like, this trilogy, like an epic. Though, if you know anything about video game history, anytime you pitch a game as an epic unfolding over, as an epic unfolding over several games, you're gonna get stuck never finishing the story. Like that's almost always how it happens.
What was the game? Advent Rising?
Yep.
Or something like that?
That's immediately what I was thinking.
Because I remember it was that in Psychonauts 2 that basically put Majesco out of business. I'm sorry, Psychonauts 1. There was never Psychonauts 2. But I remember that where they did come out like, music by Tommy Tallarico, a story better than Halo, 3 epic trilogies, epic space. We're out of money.
Yeah.
Shit. Like, because no one bought it.
That was their ticket into
Get in the
AAA.
car.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate. So
I'm always so fascinated by that's cute. I'm always so fascinated by people who don't understand these like games, and then better yet, like they watch some gameplay of it and they're like, how is this even remotely something that people are getting jazzed about? Because I think that does kind of, it should speak to a legitimate worry, which is that what made these games special was tech or production value, and that stuff doesn't scale. Like, tech and production value is no longer impressive today.
We're also having this conversation that there seems to be a, I see this kind of more in, I guess, kind of the video game communities and other places, but there's this sort of thing of white people, it's always white, who sort of identify with Japanese culture, and they're like, I eat with chopsticks, I have a bento box, and I am cultured.
It's
because I'd rather play Shenmue than a dirty casual American game. Like Grand Theft Auto was like, well, the guys are from England. Like, I don't need this.
I was just starting to like be like, Akira's pretty fucking sweet, and then playing Shenmue, which lets you wander around in Japan as a Japanese guy. I'm not gonna like. There was a bit of a fantasy element to that.
I'm saying you're allowed to appreciate other cultures, but don't act. I don't know. It's like, unless you live in Japan and are fluent in the language, and maybe your dad helped develop the game. Like, I don't know if you're allowed to speak on behalf of the community.
I also gotta admit, like you like Assassin's Creed's games because they let you wander around in foreign places. There was a bit of a digital tourism aspect to it for me too. Like you go to small town Japan for the first game, you go to mainland China, Kowloon for the second game, and just kind of like wandering around those digital cities and like hearing the chatter they put in and stuff. It was fun.
But would you say Assassin's Creed does that better now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can get on the roof.
Absolutely. At a higher resolution. Yeah.
Well, Assassin's Creed is very much a game too. Like it's not just a touring simulator.
You're right.
And again, to Shenmue's credit, it was an excellent prototype.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily have to get jazzed when they're like, we're releasing the Model T, guys. Like, you can drive Model Ts around the streets.
Yeah, it's like, did you improve the gas mileage?
We don't know yet. We have no idea, but take my money. Here's $2.8 million.
Next question from The Real Me 99. Do you think there are still too many remasters or HD collections coming out? When can we reasonably expect new IPs for the new consoles?
We just got
we got a few.
Yeah, we
got a lot.
some really fucking
Honor
good
was
ones.
fucking awesome.
That was one of the things I really liked about E3 this year, is how many new IPs there were.
I thought they kind of...
Joel and I are all about... we call us the Horizon Boys. We're the Horizon Boys now because that game looks super balls and fun.
Yeah.
Horizon looked really cool.
Yeah.
I kind of dispute that these are coming at the cost of new IP. I think as long as a product is viable, publishers will fund it and it will get made.
I think I'm okay. So a good example is basically any like Bethesda game. Basically, whenever a game came out on older tech and then newer tech has come out, but that game existed at the same time on hardware that was more powerful. Basically, whenever a game came out on Xbox 360 and PC at the same time, it's always like when Fallout 3 came out, it's like PC and Skyrim as well. It's like it's night and day between, like, the consoles were so old at that point. And I was always like, man, you like
Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
When they showed the play as like 14 frames a second.
Yeah, Mass Effect 1 still looks really good on PC. It scales really well. On 360 it looks like garbage. And it runs like garbage. So I'm always kind of okay where it's like, I understand not a lot of people can afford a PC. They're very expensive. So when a budget console comes out like the PS4, I'm always thinking like, oh wow, people could probably, like, if they re-release Skyrim or Fallout, I'm okay with that. Because I'm like, now you can replay it because you're probably kind of used to the console experience, but now you're getting kind of like the PC experience that I had 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So like those make sense to me. I'm okay with that. I guess I think they kind of put the brakes on stuff, and I was actually kind of surprised Bethesda didn't announce like the Fallout collection or the Elder Scrolls collection like re-release. I don't know. They could have, and they didn't. So
Well, I guess in terms of marketing, I guess the good thing about a Fallout collection is like we're going to get people staring at Fallout until Fallout 4 comes out.
that was kind of the Halo mentality of Master Chief
but
Collection.
I think Shelter did that for a tenth of the budget and a tenth of the time. So and it's making them a shitload of money, like more than a Fallout collection probably would have. So
pretty smart.
yeah, I think it's the same strategy. You're just seeing it in a different way.
I am the game. I am the game 13. Do you see the announcement of backwards compatibility on the Xbox One being a hindrance to the developers / publishers hoping to make remaster and HD collections of their games? So much so that they refuse to support backwards compatibility, as it is apparently up to the individual publishers to allow their games to be available. EA has said they will support it fully, but does that mean we will see fewer HD collections of EA games like Mass Effect, for example?
Maybe.
I guess. Did anyone here care about backwards compatibility?
I did.
I did
Okay.
too. It
I
means
did
get
a lot.
to take one piece of plastic off my shelf.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that because
I still
like
play 360 games sometimes.
I like having the option to. Just like we were saying, I like having the option to access those old games. My bigger thing is
You guys got to get to it, man. We got to beat this.
I know that.
Just fooling around.
No, I'm moving the story
Yeah.
forward. Joel's exploring
Joel, come on,
dinosaurs.
James. Stop dicking around.
I'm trying to beat up the dinosaurs.
I am all about knowing. Like, I know you can do it. Like when they're like, "Sorry, Xbox One just can't.
I mean,
we just
I gotta be honest.
can't figure it out."
I didn't think they could. The 360 had a really weird processor, and the Xbox One has kind of a normal processor.
Yeah, but
well,
when
it's
you have a
powered
PC,
PC.
when you have a PC
It's-
that
no,
always,
it's
when
AMD
a,
Jaguar.
but when a PC can
You want
always
it.
figure out eventually how to do these things, I'm like, there's got to be a way.
There is a way.
There's got to be a way.
I'm still honestly
Sony
impressed.
figured it out. They bought Gaikai and On Live and
Yeah.
said,
Because the PS3 was
"Yeah,
fucking weird.
That was, well, the PS3 had the weird cell processor and all that.
7 cores.
Yeah.
None of which are the same. Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
I was excited about it because one, I like the idea of being able to play old 360 games. I don't, as soon as a new console comes out, I don't
Achievement.
dump my old console and get rid of all my old games because, you know, I like having them there. Maybe I want to play them every once in a
I was
while.
thinking more of the downloadable games. I was just thinking like,
Yeah,
I'm
the
like,
arcade.
it's fun to pick up like Castle Crashers or
Pac-Man,
yeah,
Galaga,
that's really it.
Res
Yeah.
HD. A lot of good shit. What are you talking about?
What? No. What? We're,
0 Day Attack on Earth.
All right, let's
What
chill
are you
out. bud.
talking about? Blast Core.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that rare
There it
collection. Is there a question about the rare collection?
Yeah, there is. Man.
Yeah, James, are you gonna get the rare collection?
I probably am, yeah.
All right, that's a podcast, guys.
Thank you for watching. Yeah.
I keep having people ask me if like the
School's
rare
here.
collection's worth $30, like $1 1 hour.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
$30 for
Sure.
a
How
billion
about
hours.
one of those
$1
games used to cost twice as much as the whole package, and people say games cost too much.
Blast
$1
Core.
game.
I can finally own Blast Core. Also, Killer Instinct's on it too.
The answer is yes.
Snake, rattle, and roll, baby.
They kind of skirted over Perfect Dark Zero, which is kind of interesting. I was
Oh,
like,
that's on 360.
I thought it was
Also
interesting
bad.
that they showed it at all.
is it not part
Yeah,
of their collection?
Zero's in there.
Zero's in there.
Because
and
it's every game.
Wait.
ever.
No, Perfect Dark is. I guess I don't know.
No,
if
Zero's in.
It
They
is?
showed
Oh.
the logo, and I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
I guess
Launch
whatever.
game.
Unless they're working on another one.
crap achievements. They're all it has multiplayer achievements. What the? Ooh!
Watch out, little Lego truck.
We would get your friends to buy it too.
Yeah.
Poor yawns.
Backwards compatibility, cool. More features for people who bought a thing.
But as to the question, like, will it prevent HD collections from coming out? I don't think so.
No, like I said, it goes back to having that limited tech. Like, if I had to, basically, you're like, I love Skyrim, and they're like, you can play the old crappy version on your old crappy, like the old crappy way you used to play it, or here's a slightly, here's an updated one with mod support. You go, yeah, I'm going. With
Yeah, it's all about it. It's all about. I mean, it's simple, really. And when I say it, it's going to sound dumb, but it's all about incentivizing the purchase. If they add $20 of new content or new features to an old game, and they charge $20 for it, and you like that, you'll pay $20 for it. So
I mean,
It's like The Last of Us remastered.
yeah,
That was a
A year
little-
later, people bought that.
that was
game.
too soon, though. That was
But
that.
people still bought it.
Sure.
there's no too soon. If people pay for it, it's not too soon.
I guess I felt it was sort of like, huh? Why?
Look at them spinning.
Yeah.
Hey.
They sold it twice. I mean, I'm not going to criticize it for that. GTA, I think, did basically the same thing.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, it's ready here now. That like it just took a little bit longer to bake over here, so we're just gonna sell you like here, have these buns.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hot
Whatever.
cross buns.
I'm not begrudging it, but I would much rather HD remakes of games that we haven't seen in some time, like in collections and stuff coming out again, as opposed to even the Gears of War Ultimate Edition thing. Do we know how much that costs?
I don't know. I mean,
And it's just Gears of War 1 again.
it's 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah.
Is it 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, it's 1, 2, and 3, and it has like the extra campaign that was in the PC version of Gears 1.
Okay.
I say campaign. It was like an act. It was like 5 levels. It was good
Yeah.
though.
I'm not in a rush to go through Gears of War again.
I
Okay,
am, man. I like Gears 1.
That's fine.
I like Gears 1 too.
I liked it, but I beat it and I played it. I'm like, I'm not.
I played through it on 360.
I guess also the new stuff they showed at the Xbox press conference for Gears 4, I was kind of like, eh. I was not. I mean, kind of, but James and I were having this conversation where saying every Microsoft press show that they've done and Gears of War came out, it was always something big. It was always like, look at the tech being pushed forward, and this one was like a tornado and a blonde dude, and like nothing seemed that. It was underwhelming, and it didn't really get me. Like, I wasn't like, so what's new here?
You
Like,
wanted a shark.
I mean, I understand the angle that they hit it at, which is mysterious. Who are these two characters?
Yeah.
What are they doing, and why is this world that way? But like we were saying, generally it is like, who are they doing? Who are those people? What are they doing? And why is there a giant spider that's destroying entire cities and flying through the air?
on
kind
the
of thing?
flip side, Horizon, that was the robot dinosaur one.
That was very bombastic.
Beast.
It was like you got an idea of what this world was, you got an idea of who these characters are, you got an idea of what the enemies are and what the weapons do, and it was like that was all there. That's
So-
how you demo, which is unfortunate. We've talked to devs before where they're like,
I'm glad you brought that up because Cliff, like around Gears 2 era, was complaining about this specific issue, saying that people expect these huge, big, ridiculous sequences in their games. So we make that sequence for the E3 demo, and it ends up being in the game because we can't waste all that time for no content. And then you basically lose, like it becomes ridiculous. You can't like to have any of the game be consistent. Suddenly the entire game gets elevated a little bit. Gears 1 was pretty mellow, pretty relaxed, and pretty somber, and I really liked that tone. But as the games went on, they got bigger, more ridiculous, more silly, more melodramatic. And I'm not saying that's purely because of the E3 demo phenomenon, but that's certainly a contributing factor. So I was really happy with the demo they did for Gears 4, because to me it seemed more thematically similar to Gears 1, which I wanted. So that's
That's
me.
fair.
I didn't get that vibe. I mean, I always thought like they could have probably done a little bit better with like just a simple trailer, something, anything like the Gears 2 trailer where they're playing that super sad song
Mad
from
World.
Little
True,
Sunshine. I was like, you could have just done that, and like, because I mean, the whole thing with Gears was like, it after the Mad World trailer that went out and got everyone hyped, they were like, Gears of War kind of became synonymous with like good trailer music, and like good trailers, like that could have been your throwback.
Sure.
That could have been it, rather than like, and I get it, like show the gameplay, show that it's working. That's fine. I'm okay with that, and like the game doesn't have to be big and loud. If it's going to be this smaller game, it's like it probably
good
just
approach.
didn't need to be shown.
But then you might run into like the Dead Island problem, where people either misinterpret or maybe get a
Misinterpret
better
yeah.
image of the product than.
Utterly mislead.
I mean, it sold well, so I
Whatever
guess.
it takes to build hype and make that money.
Thanks, Business Spool.
Bizpool.
You want to take the next
Pick it up. Pick it up, Joel.
Sure.
It's not letting me.
No, you pick it up and then you follow it because you're a tracker.
Mr. Eli writes.
Wait, no, did we?
What, did I skip that one? I did. Oh boy. Shit show skier writes, hey guys, do you view the number of remakes that are starting to come out as negative towards the industry or positive? Is it a way for companies to get their older games out to younger gamers, or just a ploy to make some quick money?
Money.
All of the above.
Yeah, it's always money, always. And if it makes money, it's not bad. That means people wanted it, so they bought it. As far as like
Drugs.
creatively what that does to the industry, so I agree with the point that it maybe allows younger gamers to play older games, but I think also it's a good perspective check for older gamers to see that younger gamers are like, this is okay, I guess. I don't understand why you're freaking out about it.
They don't know art.
Sure. So like when people play Earthbound, that's one of my favorite games, but it's hard to play through nowadays, and it kind of forces me to acknowledge, turn-based RPGs are kind of a bad idea. Well, they got away with what they could. But.
Yeah, I mean, Earthbound is also very Earthbound is almost like playing writing down the stats yourself kind of game, because it's not even the action sequences of Earthbound are just like a thing floating in ambient space.
And it's got those cool psychedelic backgrounds.
I know it does.
And the good music.
But you can also understand why they chose those psychedelic backgrounds,
Sure.
so they didn't have to animate
Yeah,
action
of course.
and excitement.
Or draw
and
like a
things
number
like
of
that.
16-bit backgrounds.
Yeah,
They just wrote some math and they were done.
I think Lawrence hit on a interesting point. We're kind of in a new form of advertising. And what's a better form of advertising than a video game? Another video game. So what we're seeing now, Bethesda's kind of not really leading the charge, but they're doing a good job of it, of rather than hitting you over the head with trailers for 2 years and ideas and all these dev diaries and stuff like that, now they're just going, here's some free advertising. It's a game you can download. It's really addicting. It's a lot of fun. And it'll probably it's going to notify you all the time when your dwellers are around, but also guess what? It's going to let you know when Fallout 4 is
Remember
out.
Fallout? Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. Fallout. Hey.
It's sort of like, it's a more organic way of advertising.
Pre-order yet? Remember Fallout?
I don't know. And so Master Chief Collection basically served as one giant commercial for Halo 5. Unfortunately, that commercial had a lot of bugs and broken issues. So probably, there's two different, there's the Fallout super positive way of making it work, and then there's the Master Chief Collection way of making it not work. So, with that said, though, I'm really excited for Halo 5.
Wait, how do I shoot the gun when I'm aiming? This is dumb.
I have
Probably
no
right
idea.
trigger.
Press and hold, and then if you
like
target
mouse
something,
over
you
it?
can actually shoot. It doesn't matter.
It
You have
just-
to go
oh,
up
it
to
just auto does it.
you have to go up to the gate over here and put in the code.
All right, go next.
Mr. Eli, what do you guys think is the main driving force behind the, quote, remake reissuing phenomenon, end quote? Is it lack of effort on the developer side, simply a cashing in on nostalgia, or is it a consumer-driven, most of gamers fall into the 18 to 30 age bracket now and are looking for those old familiar experiences?
I guess we kind of touched on this, but take morality out of it. This is a product, and if they decide a product will make money, and there's a workforce who wants to create that product, you fund it, it gets made, and then you put it out on the market and it sells.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to. There's no conspiracy to drive the creative forces in the games industry. It's driven by the market and what the market wants entirely. So please, that's not maybe true in the indie space, and there are some publishers who are like, we want to make this because it excites us. Like the For Honor guy, he was just pumped to be able to make his game.
Yeah.
And I don't think market forces entered into it for him. He's like, I love swords, I want to stab people with swords, and that's cool, and please Ubisoft, let me make this game. And they did.
Yeah. He also had a cane for no reason that I could tell.
He
It
looked
was a
awesome.
sword cane.
No,
Yeah.
he said he got in a rap fight with some skydiving ninjas who were on fire. We were
Okay.
joking. He
Like
basically
rap.
slipped.
Oh,
And
okay.
He injured his knee.
Oh, okay.
The guy was great though.
Got a cool beard.
He was pretty badass.
I think, I mean, at the end of the day, too, I think what's nice about there between film and, I mean, what we do, making stupid little internet videos,
Film.
there is a nice blend between,
Cinema.
there is the part you can be creative, you can do your thing, but there is the selling out part,
It's
and the part that as long as the selling out part doesn't get involved, or it doesn't get in the way of the creative part too much, and that you have a product that people want creatively.
Robot camel toe.
What?
That's my ultimate selling out.
Oh.
EE
Robot
from Mass
camel
Effect
toe?
3.
Okay.
Giant tits. Robot camel toe.
Oh, okay.
We got this cute sassy AI. Let's put her in some giant tits and a camel toe.
I don't know.
Spoiler.
I imagine one guy was like, "This is my dream
I'm
to
sure.
make this,"
Oh, I'm sure.
and then someone's like, "I guess I can market
I wonder
this."
what wall scrolls he has.
There is a I don't know. There's a balance, and you definitely need to strike that balance. Like Chris Nolan always does it really well, where it's like, look, I need to make a movie for the masses, but I'm going to try to make it as smart as I can and make it interesting. But I'm going to make entertainment. I'm an entertainer. That's my job.
That's why we use clickbait. You got to get the dummies to click on the video.
I mean, we have the. I think the beauty of it is the gaming industry has room for other things,
Yeah.
like No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, I don't think we're gonna come away from that being like this is like
They sold out.
a game, or like, but also like a game. Like it's like it seems like much more of an experiential kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I think
Spool's
that's
gonna love
good.
it.
There's room for
Spool's
a lot
gonna
of
get
shit.
So high. and
Well, it's
play
going to
No
be on
Man's
PC.
Sky
I know.
eventually.
It started
Just-
what they showed at the press conference looked more like all those survival games we've been making fun of for the past 2.5 years.
There was some of that. yeah.
Like
Is there any death in that game?
they never showed death.
No Man's Sky.
I mean, there's like-
yeah,
But he was
I
running.
heard.
He was
Yeah, he
running
was
for
running-
the sentries.
yeah.
No, I was told someone played it. I don't remember who I talked to. Someone played it, and they said that you can die, and then you just respawn back in your ship.
You lose your
with
fish
like
points?
some credit. You like basically like
Okay.
GTA. You lose some of the credits or whatever monetary amount that you've earned, and then you just respawn back in your ship, and then you can do whatever.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, we saw some things with like the gun, and there could be a potential crafting system, and like he was like he was shooting rocks, and they were falling out in little pieces, and it looked a little more like voxel based.
So-
I was like,
So do you want to see a
Yeah,
lot
it is
more
very
out of it
awesome.
before you play it, or you just want to play it at this point?
I kind of want to just play it. I like the idea of just getting in a spaceship and flying around to different planets. I think that's cool.
All right, let's see here. Loud Super writes, I might be a little high, but do you think when companies run out of games to remake, they might remake consoles?
Interesting.
They've already done that.
Yeah.
It happens in various ways. Essentially, that's what backwards compatibility is.
But we've seen like the Mega console, which is like it's like a
Oh, yeah.
Genesis and like NES.
Third-party
and,
companies
retro
do it,
duo.
for sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
And then like Nintendo has its virtual console with
Yeah.
and like Super Game Boy and things like this. It's kind of what it
so
is.
yeah, you're high.
But it's
I mean, you are high,
You're
yes.
high, but yeah, I know that moment when you're like, I just came up with the, and it's like, and then you go back later and it's like, you could slice bread, and you're like, I guess you could. Good job, me.
Manually?
I'm brilliant.
Kids, stay off of drugs. Don't be like.
No, do all the drugs. An aging gamer writes, as a child from the 80s, I have loved a lot of different games, and if I wanted to play them again, I would get the console or emulator and play them again. Do you feel the reason for remasters or remakes is simply to fool people with shiny graphics, and is it enough to justify the new price tag that comes with the remake?
I mean, you can do that for as long as the technology will allow. You know,
Yeah.
right now it's kind of the thing where it's like,
Oh,
I can't find an RF
she
switch.
loves poop.
You know, I can't find an
Oh,
RF
yeah.
switch. I can't attach like these.
I use Elgato for that because you
Yeah.
can actually up-res stuff and play it on normal TVs.
So like
They're-
even
yeah.
that you have a new device that you've had to
You're right.
introduce into the system.
The more time goes by, the more complicated it gets to use old hardware. That's kind of how it goes, and that's just gonna accelerate.
One thing that I would want to say about that is I wish there was a system where you could, if you had the original game or whatever, you'd get a discount on the new one.
Nintendo
I
did
think
something like that.
I think it would be fair. I don't know how they'd really be able to pull it off technically because it's like I
It all has to
scan
be-
my
yeah.
my serial number in
It
there.
has to be in the same system. So like,
Yeah.
if you bought something on Wii Virtual Console, it costs like $1 to rebuy it again on Wii U Virtual Console.
Yeah.
People
Because
get
that's
mad about
a lot of people's argument with like emulate or they'll download like emulators, like I think that guy kind of mentioned, is because they're like I owned it like in the '90s or I owned it when it was original. I shouldn't have to buy it again or pay for it again or anything like that.
No. I skipped a question here. Spider-Brain. Are there certain games/movies that you believe should never be remade because they're so perfect? Yeah.
Maybe not remade, but I mean, I don't think anything's out of the question for like re-releasing.
Well, like-
Kinda
well,
Tetris. It's
so,
a perfect game, basically.
I don't think the original Star Wars should ever be remade. I think it's fine. I think that is a perfect.
Oh, that'd be weird.
I think that's what I mean. It's one of those things where you're like it's so timeless that you're like, I can't possibly see this being remade. The prequels, on the other hand, I was like, I'm okay with those getting maybe a little touch up.
Well, the irony is, after Star Wars, tons of movies tried to remake it. They basically just swapped
Yeah.
out the names and
Sure,
and the settings.
I think what he's saying though is like a 1-to-1 remake, like
Like the Psycho
Psycho.
remake.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say Psycho. That did not need to happen. It was unnecessary. That was Van Sant being kind of like, let's just do this because it's weird.
It
Like,
didn't.
okay.
But do you think that it ruined or hurt the original Psycho? In any
No,
way?
that's
at all.
my thing. Is
I
like
don't
do
think
whatever
so.
you want. Like it's like you don't have to go see it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's an interesting experiment.
It's bullets ruining
You know?
movies.
Yeah.
Why didn't that happen? Maybe it did, but
What?
Was there anyone when the Psycho remake was announced and they said it was going to be shot for shot, like scene for scene, the exact same movie? Was anyone like, no, this is cheapening Psycho?
Yes,
Really?
tons of
Okay.
people said
I'm
that.
sure.
Yeah.
And
Mario.
now
But they
it's
also forgot
forgotten
about
people's-
Psycho 2 and 3 and 4.
the
Yeah.
recycling.
Yeah, and how it didn't actually cheapen the original
Clever.
classic. So.
Well, they kind of did. They elaborated on the character, and everyone
but-
fucking hated it.
But
But
you
Oh,
could
yeah.
choose to not watch them.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's like I
That's
can,
what I'm
also,
saying.
It's
I
like-
can choose to not read
your
fan
thing.
fiction about The Last of Us.
Well, it's like Disney movies, and like the first one or whatever is good, and then they do like the direct to DVD, like 2, 3, 4,
Return of
5
Jafar
of
was
them.
the shit.
There's a couple that are good,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's like don't even. look at them.
The Aladdin television series, the cartoon series,
I
is
remember
really
Starring
good.
Dan
Dan
good.
I remember
Castellaneta.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aladdin's the only one I know of that's like
Um,
has a really good.
But also,
following.
I guess, and those things don't really make
Coupla goes.
the original film better or worse.
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
Just,
Like, they're
it's
just
just
there.
there if you want it. I don't know.
If you love Aladdin that much, you keep watching the other ones.
We just gotta not be so sensitive. People gotta make their dollar bills, and if they gotta make their dollar bills by remaking your classics, then that's what they're gonna do.
I don't know who this character is, but I
You
want
did
him
it,
to stay.
so pooped.
I like it.
Oh, you go Do it, Joel. Joel, play as a Triceratops right now.
I'm coming to play.
Do it.
Laura
Can I
Berry
ride
writes, is there any game you would like to
walked
see a
away.
remake of, or do you feel like a remake would ruin your nostalgic view of a childhood favorite?
It's almost a flip.
So I saw a lot of okay guys. There's one thing you gotta stop doing. When a company announces a remake of a thing, stop trying to prove how smart and cultured you are by saying you'd rather have something else. Just stop it. Like when Capcom announced DuckTales, everybody's like, "Pff, that's good, but I'd rather have this other 8-bit Capcom game."
Chippendales
Yeah,
Rescue
yes!
Rangers was
Everybody
the better
said that.
one.
And like,
Well, because I got
was,
both those games at the same time.
just
By the way,
Just stop
DuckTales,
doing that.
the DuckTales remake was awesome. They did
It
a
was
great
really
job
good.
with that game.
So you're
but-
saying they should do Chippendale?
More DuckTales.
But that, as a bit of an aside, I mean, a lot of people were throwing out, but Final Fantasy VI/Final Fantasy IX was the best Final Fantasy. Do that one instead.
What's the name of the bad guy
They'll
from
get
that
to
one?
it eventually. Don't worry.
What's the name of the bad guy
Syl
from? He was like a jester.
Oh.
Kuja? Or are you talking about Kefka?
Kefka. That's it.
Yeah, let's have a full-grown man in a clown outfit be the villain. That's gonna
Yeah.
work in full res HD.
Well, I mean, Sephiroth is dumb too. Like
Sorry,
that's
dumb.
the point. They're all dumb.
Yeah.
It's just which dumb you like most.
So kind of going back to the original question, we had this conversation during E3. More Final Fantasy made me not want a Final Fantasy VII remake. Like when they first pseudo announced it for like the PS3, I was like, cool. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite one. I love how it's like kind of anime. They got big swords and stuff. And then they did that.
Advent Children.
Advent Children, yeah. And
Advent Children.
I wanted to, and I watched it, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
action
so
scenes
this
were great.
action's great. It's fantastic. I agree with that.
Got some motorcycle.
But the more I saw it, and I was like, I really hate Cloud as a
he's awful.
character.
Well,
Yeah.
Cloud was a non-character to start.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like a little bitch in the
He's a
beginning,
moody
that was
Judy.
cool. Yeah,
He's
he was
a moody Judy.
He was a
Yeah.
little sassy asshole, and then just became a non-character for the rest of
And
the
I was
game.
like, I prefer Zack as like, and I get there's the whole thing where
Then you
like,
get to play Crisis Core.
Yeah.
Zack is actually is like the
That's-
coolest character in the
Yeah.
entire Final
Also,
Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII has been pumped dry already. Just a lot of stuff no one played.
air guys.
Yeah, well.
Anyone?
Charge that.
Just me? Okay.
I never
I
played
played
7.
it. That was a fun game.
But that's the sort of thing. I'm like, if you
What is
weren't
that?
13 years old in 1997 or however
missed
old I
it.
was, yeah, I was like, you kind of missed it, and there's really no reason to go back. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like a better Final Fantasy out there. Bravely Default, I think, is like
Yeah.
a good modern,
modern Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy.
Lost Odyssey was a really good modern Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I would say like go play that instead because I don't know, unless you have no access to the outside world and see the advancements that have happened, like I said, I'll stand by and say Final Fantasy VII was my favorite one. I'm not in a rush to go through and replay. I
Yeah.
think that train.
Also, you can you can replay it right now if you want to.
Yeah, it's on
right
PC.
now.
It's
That's
on
how I
PC.
replayed it.
It
looks good.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Well, when that happened, I was like, okay, that's cool.
Daggerfall.
Like, that's really cool that they're doing this after all that time. Even though at this point I was like, it is really feeling like they're just giving us the thing people asked for on Reddit.
Yeah.
But regardless, I was like, I hope that they make it a different game. I don't want it to be just those
One for one.
The new
They said it's going to
cutscenes
be a
are.
remaster, not just a remake. So
But I want it to be a different game. I want it to be not a turn-based RPG. I want it to
may
be.
not be.
Also,
I want it to
Kingdom
be-
Hearts kind of ruined combat and Square games for me because I'm like, this is so much fun.
Yeah,
I want it to be that.
Run away.
I want it to be like Kingdom Hearts, and I want it. You basically play through the whole story in like
What if
8 hours.
what if they did like?
That's fine.
Are you okay? You okay?
I got
Spool?
excited. I got excited.
No, sorry, go ahead.
What if they did like a Kingdom Heart, like Kingdom Hearts style, but with just Final Fantasy things. You went between the different Final Fantasy worlds, and they were all linked together.
Well, they're doing World of Final
they're
Fantasy.
doing
yeah,
or whatever.
that's like a weird
Let me tell you,
chibi thing, right?
They have
As
Record
somebody
Keeper
who
for
doesn't
mobile.
care about Final Fantasy,
Go on.
that would not appeal to me. But
But what if it
Kingdom
taught you
Hearts,
this
like
story?
Kingdom Hearts, theoretically appeals to me because like I like Disney stuff. So like I would never
Yeah.
play an all Final Fantasy game, and if you want to appeal to the broadest audience possible, then why wouldn't you just do that?
Minecraft. Final
Well,
Fantasy.
I could be totally wrong.
You need to come. You need to come. through here.
But I'm almost positive the guy Nomura, who worked on Final Fantasy VII, left after one of the Final Fantasies and worked on Kingdom Hearts. And like the combat system was so good just because it was like shortcuts to like the magic and the potions, and like the combat was actually like it was like real time. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, because I hate turn-based combat. After like that's
fun
actually part of the reason
sometimes.
why
Attack,
It's fun sometimes.
it's some games fine. Like actually, yeah, Bravely Default did it.
I mean, it's
pretty well.
So it's mostly for players that don't have the motor skill or the familiarity with controllers to play like a live
Yeah.
action game.
I don't
Well-
know. I mean, sometimes you feel like playing something different.
It's
But-
weird because so many people. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No,
Right,
nothing.
right, right.
It's okay.
Either way, I'm saying if it's the same guy, and I'm hoping that going back to that original question where it's like, say you could remake something, you're like, okay, finally the tech has caught up to what I originally envisioned. If he had thought like in those crazy fight scenes in Ed Event Children where Cloud is like flying around the sky and stuff, if you're actually controlling that, and
That'd
it's,
be cool.
and it's there is a like a Devil May Cry
there was a
type
game
fight
like that.
system.
There was a game like that. It was for Dissidia. Basically was that you would like bash
Wow.
people all around, and the control scheme was
Oh,
like
yeah,
hold
yeah.
buttons to just laser target onto somebody
Yeah.
and follow them.
Okay.
So you'd be bouncing them around Dragon Ball Z style.
Yeah, it
That
was
a
definitely
PS
Dragon
that
Ball
was a
Z
PSP
fighting.
game, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I borrowed someone's PSP just so I could play that game. It was pretty cool. It was utterly unique. Is
Yes.
the word I would describe.
The
it.
other thing too, though, the Final Fantasy VII trailer was a CGI trailer, which is my least favorite way of announcing a game.
The music, and you know it's Barrett because he's got a gun.
Yeah, and
walls
Aerith
aren't very
dies at the
strong.
end.
It's got the little slide from the park where Marlene was.
I want to see what the gameplay looks like. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
I wonder
Because-
what the
and
gameplay
until
is.
then,
I don't think they know what
Yeah.
that gameplay is yet.
It's
Probably not.
weird too because like thinking about how the combat in Final Fantasy has evolved over the years and how people feel about it now. Like everyone hated 13, but I saw it as kind of a logical progression from where it was and where it is now. But I feel like, could you imagine if they were like, okay, well, we're just going to pull a combat system similar to that to make it more exciting and more action oriented? Like, do you think that would do better or worse than if they were like, it is just straight up, just like HD characters? Everyone looks like how they looked like in the pre-rendered, the cool, good pre-rendered
That's hard to
cutscenes
say.
and stuff.
Joel's looking at his watch. So
No, I'm not.
Hurry up.
I'm not looking to watch.
We just did Lord Bear, right?
Yeah.
We went on that. We
You
went on that for a
can
while.
skip this one. We basically answered it.
Okay.
already. So go to the bottom one. There.
Someone, whoever you are, almost made it into the show.
Well,
but now
no,
you won't.
okay.
Bagzio.
Bagzio, you basically ask, will remakes come at the expense of original games? And I really don't think so.
I
No,
doubt it.
absolutely not.
Kind of expensive money.
Sequels will always fill that void for people, but then at a certain point you still have to come up with
are there
new
any-
sequels.
Are there any like studios that are just dedicated
Yes.
to doing remasters?
Yes.
Like I know there's ports, like companies that do ports, but I didn't know if there's any like remastering.
Well, remasters aren't so
Dedicated one.
legitimate yet that they're or so predictable yet that there are studios that only do them.
That's
but
what we
there-
need to do. We need to get in that
Well,
business.
no, there are a few that pinch hit basically for a bunch of studios. So like
What was that?
Go.
Deuce us.
when it comes to remaster, typically a lot of that work gets farmed out to a contracting agency because, like you guys were saying, it's you can templatize it to a degree and say like, do this for this whole folder of assets. Go and do it.
Okay.
So there are companies that do that.
All right. Well, there you go. Bagzio. Dese80. Do you feel that remakes of beloved franchises are doomed to disappoint? For example, if Final Fantasy VII remake strays too much from the source, diehard fans will complain. But if they leave all the mechanics and plot untouched, the games would be dated and almost unplayable for new audiences. I like this guy. He gets it.
Good question.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's what we were just
Dees.
talking about.
That's the balance, right?
So
Find a new audience or appease the 11 million people who claim they will buy your game again, which most certainly will not.
And this is the problem because we were saying like if you want to play Final Fantasy VII again,
Go
it's
play it.
there. It's on a million platforms. Go play it. But they don't want to because they want to feel like they did the first time they played it.
Which isn't gonna happen.
Yeah, well, I mean it could, but ultimately for me, the way I kind of customize yours right here. You're just busting up this lab.
Yeah.
The way that I remember like
She's a monster.
to me the wow behind 7 was like the like cyberpunk city. It's like all mechanized but still kind of fantasy-ish. It's like the plate and all the smog was pretty cool for a Final Fantasy game.
It was
like
the biggest diversion in the entire series.
Yeah.
Like,
and it had like really cool music that was kind of jazzy and down-tempo.
Everybody loves jazz.
it was also the first 3D one.
Yeah. And like the pre-rendered backgrounds were really cool. Like everything was kind of glowing and
Omni Slash.
But then I remember, as soon as I left Midgard, I was like, oh, this has become a normal Final Fantasy game all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like the cool Midgard setting is entirely what I associate with 7, and it wasn't even. It was like a fifth of the.
All those people died when that
that was
plate
pretty
fell.
Cool. Like
Oh,
the,
yes, that
like
part
big
sucks.
stakes.
Yeah.
And it was like, but when I replayed it again some years back, I realized the thing that I associated with the game was only like the first hour and a half.
Interesting.
I am totally there with. I felt that I ended up really enjoying the whole thing, obviously, like most people did the whole way through. But I did feel like it wasn't a bait and switch per se. But I was like, I can't wait to explore this city. I can't wait to do all this stuff, and then you leave.
Yeah.
And then you're.
And then you
like
hit the world
said,
map, and you
and
go
it's
to
just
other
like,
fantasy
yeah.
towns that have no tech in them at all, and it's just like a normal Final
Yeah.
Fantasy game.
It's funny too because I'd never played a turn-based game until Final Fantasy VII. That's the first one, and I was so sold on the commercials where they're showing like rocket ships taking off, and they're like the
that
next
motorcycle sequence.
Yeah, and they're just like the next level of entertainment. Like, yes, this is, and I'm like, I had known about Final Fantasy. I'd never actually played it. All my friends were gushing about it, and I was just kind of like, I think I tried playing the first one on NES, and I'm like, I'm not into this.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do not care for this game at all.
I have a very vivid memory of. I went over to a friend's house, and he was playing Final Fantasy VII. It was his first, and I was like, dude, if you like 7, you gotta check out this. And I like hooked up my Super Nintendo, and I played 3/6. And he took one look at it and was like, this is garbage. And
What do we do?
Well, they also re-released those ones on PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And I think that was between 7. God, the fucking industry has not changed.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
None of this is
yeah,
new.
before 8 came out, they re-released like the old ones.
Also, those re-releases were crap. It had loading screens.
Yeah.
For like a 16-bit game on a PlayStation 1.
Yeah, they basically re-released Super Nintendo games on the PS1, and they didn't change anything from what I understand.
They added cutscenes.
Oh yeah, that was in there.
They were bad.
But I played it. I remember I bought that, and I just felt so gypped. I was like, oh,
You can't say that word.
gypped.
Yeah, it's insulting to gypsies.
Oh really?
Yep.
Wow.
Gypsies are going to show up with their smelly caravans.
You a gypsy sympathizer?
They're going to steal
Hey,
our money.
I'm an everyone sympathizer.
I was gonna say, Joel, isn't your family
Part gypsy.
Part gypsy? Yeah.
It's
I can
primarily
tell.
gypsy.
Well,
Primarily, though.
guess what race I'm gonna start ripping on?
The gyps.
gypsies.
All right, last
Race?
question.
Is it the last one?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Good for us.
Right on time, too. From EXXX19.
Cool.
It's an extreme name. Bernie talks about games being unique as an entertainment medium and that the experience of playing games degrades over time. Adam's story of GoldenEye, for example, being a great game at the time but awful to play now. Do you think remakes are acceptable when they bring back old experiences for new generations? What would your criteria be for a game to be remade or remastered? I'm going to take issue with that statement. Not all games degrade. You can sit down in a Pac-Man cabinet and have the same experience somebody did in the late 70s. Tetris also. When a game is made understanding its technical limitations for its platform, it is basically timeless. And the same is true with like movies or music. The problem is... Sorry?
Like
Psychonauts, yeah. The problem is when a work of art relies on... Usually, like, when a work of art relies on tech, that's usually very bad. So games that were very graphically impressive at the moment immediately lose their value because the graphics get better.
Like Crisis 1 or something like that.
Crisis 1 is actually... I think Crisis is a legitimately good game. People disagree.
Would you say that it would degrade over time, though? Probably.
I think Crisis is a good shooter.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that kind of depends on your definition of good shooter.
Or what you enjoyed about it. But if you enjoyed it for the graphics, sure, that wouldn't matter anymore. So like a movie, if a movie relies on CG, like a lot of mid to late 90s movies, they look terrible.
I remember Independence Day in theaters. I was like, "Oh my god,
They did it.
this is the most realistic thing ever. How did they blow up that stuff?" The model still looked good and all that stuff. Years later, it was on television, and I could just see the overscanning and like how badly they actually implemented the CGI. I'm like, this looks like bad sci-fi.
The first Hulk movie with Mark
yeah.
Ruffalo? Not Mark Ruffalo, the whatever the old guy
Eric
was.
Bana.
Eric Bana.
Old guy?
Playing Bruce Banner.
That was really bad.
That was fun.
But then you also have like movies where like the original Jurassic Park movies were these mostly like practical effects, or even like old movies from the 80s like Mad Max and stuff like that. Those still hold up today because it's practical and you don't have all that CGI that kind of makes it aged.
I'm gonna go out on my drug analogy as I do with most things.
Okay.
The first time you do heroin, whoa, blow you away. It doesn't have to be heroin, but regardless, I'm talking about like that first high.
Kids, it does have to be
Yeah,
heroin.
well, like you hit the needle and you're like, whoa, and then there are people who try to chase that
It's a little
first.
spool.
Well, people try to chase that first time,
Yeah.
and they keep finding like, well, I need it harder, I need it better, and it's like
Chasing that dragon.
video games
You
can
almost got me.
video games can be kind of similar where like you can't recreate those moments, or like things in like relationships where like we're gonna re-spark that magic, and it's like
and you do the exact
The
same
marriage
thing.
is over.
well, I'm saying like
You're not even married.
me.
No,
Not
those.
you.
Oh, sorry. I was
Not you, just in general.
It's like
What?
well, we've known each other for years, but like a remake is gonna be it's gonna be like trying to force the three-way on the relationship. It's gonna be like it's a cheap version of trying to recreate the magic that you
Yeah.
probably will never have.
It's always temporary, short term.
Like because you're never gonna be 12 again. You're never gonna be you're in a position where you're not deprived of money. Maybe you have disposable income. And an N64 in a box just maybe won't do it for you anymore because you've bought so many you've bought so many other things in your life now that like you can't recreate that unless you
buy the rare collection to play Blastcore.
I don't know, it'll never be the same experience. So that's that's actually one of the things why I like modern games is I still get impressed and excited about new games. And so I'm always like I'm always more excited to find new experiences. Instead of trying to relive the old days.
Nostalgia
Forward.
is a dangerous thing.
Ho!
Gonna play the fuck out of Blastcore though.
The experiences you have when you're younger are imprinted on your mind in a way that they aren't when you're older. So you're always gonna feel like the games that you played when you were younger are more special than the games that you're playing now. Whereas I think, Lauren, to your point earlier of like a 12-year-old playing fucking stupid Final Fantasy or Shenmue or something is gonna be like, what is this? This is
exactly
The
what
full
I said.
title.
No, I know. But I'm explaining why you said that. Yeah.
I'm going to 10 years from now remember the time I played Lego Jurassic Park with Joel. And we made pretty good progress in the short amount of time that we played the
You got
game.
to the scary part in the movie.
Yeah.
This wasn't scary. This was the sexy part in the movie.
Anyway,
toilet?
I think that is it for this episode
Yeah.
of the Fat Cast.
Should we keep playing Jurassic Park?
We can keep
Should we
playing.
do
Which
it?
is
Well, I'm
fine.
saying, like, should we
Unless
do it
something
next
better
time?
happens, yeah, totally.
Obviously.
I will keep playing. If you guys want us to keep
T-Rex.
playing Jurassic Park, we'll keep playing.
He's
Should you
scary.
get
He's
to
running.
the-
No, I'm
Maybe-
talking about the next time
you're
we
right.
do.
Well, he's in the bathroom.
Sure.
Post E3 breakdown.
One of these days, probably when we move offices and we're short on time, or basically time to produce anything. I actually want to do one of these FAQ episodes just free for all, like throw anything at us.
Oh,
and
yeah,
we'll marathon it
Yeah.
and get a couple hours in. But
We could live stream it, and then people could ask us questions. We'll constantly
That's
try
true.
to
Then we would
keep
never
up
be
with
able to stop.
cool. But that's it for now. Thank you for listening and or watching.
it. Okay.
We're gonna head out. We're finally.
you.
This is Friday for us, so
Yeah,
It's
we are
Friday.
desperately trying to catch up on content we haven't been able to produce because we have been at E3 all week.
gotta-
And the moral of the story is that Independence Day is a terrible movie.
I gotta get my ass
really
on a
bad.
train.
Ah.
Can't wait for the sequel.
Da-na-na-na-na. Independence Day, we will save
We save the earth.
The squeezy bits in a bra on a thing, and then there was just a video of them they had the Oculus mask on, and they were just doing this.
So the display is just like some lady going like, "Yeah, that's great. You're really nailing it right now, man. I'm hot.
Yeah.
You're the best."
You're
Pretty
killing
much.
me.
I mean, what else?
Just like real life.
What other
Yeah, what
purpose
else?
is there for that game?
That's
It's
right.
Like,
Well,
are
there's-
you gonna play a game where a girl
She-
says no, don't do
She
that?
she very sexually tolerates what you're doing. Yeah.
Right.
Like that's great. She's like looking. You want to go eat now or no? Okay, keep going.